You know, there's this moment in every immigrant's life when you realize that your parents, despite their best intentions, are just never going to get it. And for me, that moment came when I tried to explain TikTok to my African parents. I mean, I can't even begin to describe the look on their faces. It was like I had just told them I was planning to join a cult or something. You know the look, right? The one that says, "What have we done wrong? Where did we go wrong?" So, let me set the stage for you. I'm sitting in the living room scrolling through TikTok, laughing at some random dance challenge, and my parents are in the kitchen, probably debating the merits of jollof rice versus fried rice. I'm just enjoying the moment, but then my mum walks in and says, "What is this nonsense you're always watching?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's TikTok. You know, the app where people make short videos?" And she looks at me like I just spoke in tongues. I mean, where do I even start? I'm thinking, okay, let's break this down. So I tell her, it's like a short video platform where people share everything from dance challenges to cooking tips to comedy skits. And she's just staring at me, and I can see the gears turning in her head. You know, the classic African parent response. Why would anyone want to watch a video of someone dancing? Back in my day, we had real entertainment. So, I try to explain further. Mom, it's not just dancing, it's creativity. People express themselves in unique ways. It's like a modern version of storytelling. And she's still not having it. Storytelling? In 15 seconds? When I was your age, we would sit around the fire for hours listening to stories. And I'm like, yeah, but times have changed, Mom. We don't have fires in our living rooms anymore. Then my dad chimes in. What do you mean? The fire is in the kitchen. Classic dad joke, right? But I'm trying to keep it serious here. So I say, Dad, TikTok is a global platform. It connects people from all over the world. You can learn about different cultures, trends, and even social issues. And he raises an eyebrow like he's just heard the craziest conspiracy theory ever. Social issues on TikTok. You mean to tell me that people are solving world problems in 15 seconds? And I'm like, well, not exactly solving them, but they're raising awareness. And he's shaking his head like I've just told him I want to be a professional meme creator. Awareness? What good is awareness if you can't do anything about it? Now I'm getting frustrated. I mean, I love my parents, but sometimes their logic is just old school. So I decide to hit them with some statistics. Did you know that TikTok has over 1 billion users worldwide? It's one of the most popular social media platforms right now. And my mom goes, 1 billion users? And how many of those are actually doing something productive? I'm thinking, okay, this is going nowhere. So I switch tactics. Mom, remember when you used to watch those Nollywood movies with the terrible acting and the dramatic plot twists? She nods and I can see her softening a bit. Well, TikTok is like that, but in bite-sized pieces. It's like a Nollywood movie condensed into a minute. And she laughs, finally. So, you're telling me people are acting out their lives in 1 minute, like a soap opera? Yes, finally we're getting somewhere. Exactly. And some of them are really talented. They create skits that are hilarious, and some even educate people on important topics. But then my dad jumps back in. And what about the dancing? You didn't answer my question. Why would anyone want to watch people dance? And I'm like, Dad, it's not just about the dancing, it's about self-expression. It's a way for people to connect and share joy. And he goes, joy? Is that what you call it? Back in my day, we had real dances, not these TikTok dances. And I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. So I say, okay, but think about it. Dance has always been a form of expression. Isn't that what you taught me? That music and dance are universal languages? And he pauses for a moment like I've actually hit a nerve. Well, yes, but And I can see he's trying to reconcile his traditional views with this new age nonsense. But what? I prod. But why do it in such a strange way? Why not just go to a party? I can't help but laugh. Dad, not everyone has parties every weekend. Some people just want to have fun in their own space, and TikTok gives them that platform, and he's still not convinced. So you're telling me that instead of going out and meeting people, they just sit at home and dance in front of a camera? I nod, and he looks at me like I've just described a dystopian future. This is what the world has come to. People are so lonely that they can't even dance together. And I'm like, well, it's not all bad. Some people do meet through TikTok. It's about community. And he shakes his head again. Community? You mean a community of people who don't know how to interact face to face? At this point, I'm exhausted. I mean, how do I explain the beauty of online communities to someone who grew up in a world where community meant gathering in the village square? So, I take a deep breath and say, okay, let's look at it this way. Just like you had your friends in the village, I have friends online. We share experiences, we laugh together, and sometimes we even cry together. It's just a different way of connecting. And for a brief moment, I see a flicker of understanding in my dad's eyes. So, it's like your own village, but virtual. Yes, finally. Exactly. It's a digital village where people can express themselves without fear of judgment. But then my mum pipes up again. But what about the bad things? I've heard there are dangerous challenges on TikTok. What if you get hurt? And I'm like, yes, there are risks, just like in real life. But that's why it's important to be responsible and aware of what you're doing. And she looks at me, her eyes narrowing. Responsible? You mean to tell me that young people are being responsible on an app where they can dance and lip sync? I mean, come on. I can't believe I'm having to defend an app to my parents. So I say, Mom, it's about balance. Just like you taught me to balance my studies with fun, people need to find a way to enjoy TikTok while being smart about it. And she sighs. I just don't understand why you can't just read a book. And I'm like, Mom, I read books, but I also enjoy different forms of entertainment, just like you watch your Nollywood dramas. And she goes, but those are real stories. TikTok is just noise. And I'm thinking, noise? Mom, you have to see it as an evolving form of storytelling. It's like modern folklore. And she looks at me, clearly still confused. Folklore? So you're telling me that these silly dances are now folklore? And I can feel my frustration bubbling over. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that every generation has its way of telling stories. TikTok is just the latest chapter. And my dad chimes in. But is it even good for you? You spend so much time on it. And I'm like, Dad, I balance it. I do my work, I study, and then I relax with TikTok. It's like a break. And he looks at me still skeptical. A break? Or a distraction? And I'm like, can't it be both? And he just shakes his head again, and I can feel my patience wearing thin. Okay, let's put it this way. TikTok is a tool, like how you used to use your sewing machine to create beautiful clothes. It can be used for good or for bad, depending on how you use it. And for a moment, I think I see a glimmer of understanding in their eyes. So, you're saying it's like cooking. You can make a delicious meal or a terrible one, depending on how you use the ingredients? Yes, exactly. And my mom smiles, finally getting it a little. So, what you're saying is that TikTok is like a big pot of jollof rice. Some people make it well, and some people make it not so well. And I burst out laughing. Yes, that's the best analogy I've ever heard. And for the first time, I think they're starting to see TikTok in a different light. Maybe it's not just noise. Maybe it's a way for people to connect, to share, and to express themselves, just like they did back in the day around the village fire. And as we continue to talk, I realize that even if they don't fully understand TikTok, they're willing to listen, they're willing to engage, and maybe that's all I really wanted from the start, just a little understanding. So now when I'm scrolling through TikTok, I can't help but smile, thinking about that conversation. And who knows, maybe one day I'll catch them watching a TikTok dance challenge and they'll be laughing along with me. And that, my friends, is the beauty of bridging the generational gap. It's all about connection, understanding, and a little bit of humor along the way.